I think it's better in Cuba, where I injured my leg, a very serious injury, my Achilles tendon, and I went to a hospital and I got an operation, and nobody gave me that examination you get in the U.S., the first examination you get when you go into an emergency clinic and you can be bleeding from 3 places, the examination of your wallet to see if you got medical coverage, and if you don't, you're sent to another hospital, you're dumped on the public hospital, which may be across town while you're still bleeding. It was better in Cuba where I got that operation, and I didn't have to pay a penny, and I came back here with a cast, and I tried to get an orthopedic doctor, and I couldn't. And I could pay. I said, I'll pay. You don't understand, I'll pay. And they said, oh, we know you'll pay. We don't take any other kind of patient. But they're all booked. And I finally got some guy who just came out of medical school, and I hobbled into his office, and he looked at the cast, and he said, leave it on another week. That's $50. I can tell you that $50. I never resented paying $50 so much. It was better in Cuba. In a poor country, I got good medical care. In a rich country, I'm treated like a beggar and a pariah. It was better in Cuba, where I didn't see any kids with swollen bellies and hungry and begging. I didn't see any people begging. It was better in Cuba than it was in Washington, D.C., where I live, and I walk down the street and I see people in total misery and disorientation standing there begging for food, begging for money, sleeping in hallways. I see that in the richest country in the world. That's where it was better. And when you talk about freedom, that's freedom. And when you talk about oppression, that's oppression. Sleeping in a doorway is oppression. You want to know what oppression is? Then sleep in the doorways of the land of the free and the home of the brave, and you'll know what oppression is. You want to know what oppression is? Then think about the guys who sit there wondering if they're going to blow their brains out because they can't pay the mortgage on their house and they can't feed their kids, and they see the whole thing falling apart. That's where it's better. And those are real things, and that's part of freedom. Now the military, no, you don't have to. The Red Menace that's propaganda, though, tries to direct popular discontent. Don't think you got it bad because it's worse over there, you see. And also there's a menace out there. And don't make too much waves here. We are in very serious times. What does Reagan do in his 6 years? What has he been doing? He has been distracting people from the real issues of their lives. He has refused to talk about human services, about underemployment, about the crises of the cities, except occasionally to make a little quip, like the other night where he talked about some guy who was living in a $36,000 rental in a welfare hotel. And saying, that sounds pretty good to me, not pointing out that the price was a rip-off on the government, which he should have been looking at, and the guy was living in a cramped, crowded, dirty little room in that hotel because no one else would take him anywhere else. And for all those years, what has he been doing? He's been telling you about Gaddafi, and terrorism, and the Soviet menace, and the evil empire, and our defenses, and this, and that, and out there, and over there. Rally around the flag, forget the realities of your own life. And this is what the ruling elites have to do. They have to continually, strenuously bring us back to the fantasies of their world, because the people keep floating off into reality. And that's a problem for them. The people keep floating off concerned about jobs and homes and the education of their kids and their medical bills and that sort of thing. And so that's what he's been doing. And that Red Menace is very important for that function. It is very functional.